Jambo, thank you for joining me for a virtual dose of vitamin Z as we bring the Detroit Zoo to you. My name is David, Education Specialist for the Detroit Zoological Society. Today, it's another wonderful, beautiful story coming all the way from Africa. So we are going to travel as far about 20,000 miles away. And there we are going to, if you've never thought about it, it is quite a distance. So we're going to travel all the way from, excuse me guys. So we're going to travel all the way to Africa, and we are going to meet Mr. Nyaga. So Mr. Nyaga, the ostrich, and his wife, they both lived a very quiet life, and they shared everything together. So this is a story how Mr. Nyaga got his long neck. So he definitely was a sober-minded fella, very serious husband, who was always willing to assist his wife in her family duties. And one day, he said, "My dear, when, he told his wife, my dear," he said to her that evening, when the large clutch of eggs seemed almost ready to hatch, "My black feathers cannot be seen in the darkness. So how about if I sit on the eggs at night so that I can guard the eggs and at the same time keep them warm for you? That will leave you free to relax and enjoy yourself until daybreak each morning." He settled down clumsily, boom, and there, Mr. Nyaga, the ostrich, sat on the eggs. And all night, he would sit there guarding the eggs. It is another form of, I would call it camouflage, because, no one would be able to see him. He's dark. Male ostriches are black, females are gray. So that was the best way, he explained, and the best way to guard those eggs. He settled down and, in a position he was so much unaccustomed for. This was a very, very peculiar task, sitting. So he sat down while his flighty wife, who was right now so jovial and really elated to hear this, that the husband is gonna sit on the eggs. She was more than thankful to be relieved of a duty which she already found a trial. She fluffed up her feathers, and to show how pleased she was, she set off in a joyful, high-stepping dance among the low termite mounds that surrounded the nest. The big birds had chosen the site with care, for they knew that a sitting ostrich hen with her head down looks from the distance like a gray mound of earth. They had decided to rear their young on the short grass plain, those savanna areas, open lands, because they could see all around them. For in those days, the ostrich had a short neck like a guinea fowl. They had learned the hard lesson that in long grass, their enemies could attack them before they realized their danger. So it was imperative that they are able to see their surrounding. To keep their precious eggs safe from the dreaded fires that swept across the plains, the two birds had carefully scratched away a broad band of dusty earth in the grass around the slight hollow that was in their nest. On the whole, they were actually a happy pair, although from time to time the husband had disapproved of his wife's high-spirited ways. At this particular time, she should behave more sensibly, as she had her eggs to look after. He wriggled his massive thighs, the ground, thighs on the ground as he had seen his wife do, sitting. To shift the position of the eggs from one side to the other, roll them slowly so that they lay more comfortably in the bed and settled. It was full moon. The silvery light shed straight shadows and threw up ghostly figures among the surrounding mounds of earth. His head was beginning to nod with weariness. When he became aware of his wife's hissing laugh, he was starting to get really tired, and then all of a sudden the wife looking there, yeah, that's what you get. That's how I feel. He was wide awake in a moment, as soon as the wife hissed a little bit, straightening his short neck to its utmost limit. He saw her dodging and out between the termite mounds in a wild dancing game with a flock of ostriches. So you can imagine how happy the wife is up there, so happy and just enjoying life now that the husband has already taken over. So he stretched out his neck, and guess what he sees? He sees the wife had already joined everyone else out in the night for a dance. It was really quite a dance for everyone out there. He may have, you can imagine how happy how happy she was to be let free. So he, straining his neck, therefore, he had to strain. He couldn't leave the eggs right there. Otherwise, it would definitely be a little bit of it would be just not a good idea. He saw her dodging in and out between the termite mounds, in a wild dancing game with a flock of ostriches not too far from home. So he's really wanted to know what was going on. This would never do, of course, for him to go out there. He half rose from the nest, but sank down again with a sigh. He dared not leave the precious eggs, whatever the reason. What if they were to grow cold? He went, while he went out there to join the fray. What would his wife think of his disgraceful behavior? So he settled down again with a feeling of annoyance, but strained his neck farther and farther to try to catch the sight of her as she dodged and raced between the termite mounds on the moonlight savannah. From time to time, he did catch a glimpse of her and heard her foolish giggles, and each time that he did so, he strained and stretched his neck trying to see further and yet even further between the nearby termite mounds. At last, the long, tedious night came to an end. As it did so, his wife appeared out of the gray distance to take over her duties once more. The urge to look to find out what the wife was doing, this dance that was moving from closer to the nest, the clutch of eggs where Mr. Nyaga was, moved a little further and further. And for the big issue, the big problem was that he tried to get closer to the dance. But when the wife came back, when the daybreak came, he was not able to return back to the position that he was supposed to be in. So his neck continued to be, even today, his neck is still stretched out there. For this was the original, initially he tried to figure out what was going on with the dance. And so that's how the ostrich got his long neck. Now we travel back all the way back to America and back to the zoo, to the Detroit Zoo. Here we will meet Mr. Hannibal. Mr. Hannibal lives with other animals at the great African watering hole. Very beautiful bird indeed. And he loves intermingling with those animals that are there. In this picture, he's grooming. He's formed a very good companion. They have a very good companionship with the eland. The eland is the largest, just like we have the moose as the largest, antelope in America. The eland is the largest antelope in Africa. And it's strange that that's the largest bird. The ostrich is the largest bird in the world, and of course in Africa, and grooming the largest antelope in Africa. So when you get back to the zoo, that is what you will get. You'll be able to get to intermingle with those two. So thank you for watching, and for more virtual Vitamin Z, please keep checking and enjoy yourselves. Goodbye. Kwaheri.